Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody is well. We've been talking about this concept of thoughts and feelings. Yesterday, where we left off was the understanding that, like in the old movie theaters, the little frames in the film that pass over the light, the projector, creates an image that allows me to connect to in a way that brings emotions. So, if I'm going to if I walk into a theater, let's say, 40 years ago, or maybe more, I don't know, and then they hand me a film, like hand me the roll, and I'm like going through the pictures, I'm like, picture by picture, I'm looking at the roll, I'm just like rolling the roll down, picture like they hand you the roll, like those big rolls, you know what I'm talking about, the film rolls, when they would stick to the side of the projection machine and it would play through. If you're listening to this, you're not seeing all my hand motions that are trying to depict how it used to work. So, if you walked in and they're like, "Hey guys, by the way, yeah, listen, we're gonna do something different today. We're not gonna play the thing, so we're gonna leave the lights on in the theater." And instead we're just going to hand you a copy of the roll of film, so everyone could on their own, it's a choose your own adventure night, and we know everybody likes to do it their own way and their own style and their own speed, for that matter. So everyone just go through the pictures, just roll down all the different things, and you can start to connect the dots and see how it works. You see them, and you literally, especially as you talk about animation, which is like different frames that just goes quickly. That's what animation is. It used to be. Now it's different, but back then it was just hundreds of frames that shift slight motions so that it makes it look like the characters are moving. Mickey doesn't move. He's not real, believe it or not. So Mickey used to just be 100 little frames of micro motions that allowed Mickey to appear before you as if they were moving. So when Walt Disney debuted Bambi, if you remember the history of Walt Disney, and people were crying because of the deer in the forest and the loss and all, they weren't crying because there was an actual deer that was being hunted. They're crying because in the back, Disney had created multiple frames with micro motions, as far as I know. I'm sure someone who's in film may be looking thing going like, yeah, that you didn't fully get it, but in my layman's understanding of it, Walt Disney and the Disney Corporation created hundreds and hundreds of microframes that created an image, an illusion that Bambi was walking. So when Bambi's mom, I think it was, I don't remember, I don't think I've seen Bambi. I just read about Walt Disney. But for those who saw Bambi, maybe I did see Bambi, to be honest. Like, I'm sure I did as a kid, but I have no recollection of Bambi. But I think what happened was either Bambi or her mom got killed by a hunter in the forest, I think. So for those who know, you'll adapt to the truth here. But either way, it ends up really sad. And if you studied the history of Walt Disney, so I personally think I'm fascinated by Walt Disney because of him as a business leader and the whole concept of animation, and just that's what fascinates me about Disney. It's less, Mickey and I don't know who else, but I did Mickey, and there's a duck, Donald Duck, Bambi. There's someone that's Goofy, right? That whole crew. So what Walt Disney did, which is incredible, is he actually pretty much invented this concept where you can go to a movie theater, watch a bunch of frames be played immediately after each other, sit and look at an image of a fake thing, a deer talking, and be moved to tears. And if you studied the history of the Disney Corporation, you will know that one of its watershed moments was when people went to see Bambi. They cried. That was it. It was the emotion that was emitted from an animated character. So Just think through that concept. That somebody drew on something that ended up becoming film, a deer, and then kept on drawing micro changes to that, which created a story, which, when projected through a big light, had adults watch and be moved to tears. That's what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about right now. We're talking about how thoughts are just frames in the film. Now, imagine as if the next day Walt Disney would say, hey, you know what? I got a better idea. People want to have control. Why should you watch Bambi like everybody else? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a copy of the Bambi film, the roll, right? We're going to hand it out to each person. And everyone's going to be able to look at the film on their own. So just go through it. Frame, frame. See how that works? If you do quick enough, you'll see it moving. You know, like when you were a kid? You ever do this when you were like a kid in school? Where like somebody was like really creative that drew board in class. They would take like the side of their notebook. Ever do this? There's like someone in my class who was like an incredible drawer. Or not. Like she was, he was like drawing like stick men or something. It doesn't matter. And like he would just at the corner of his book draw, the stick man, standing and then slowly bent, right? And then he would like slowly change, and then he would like flip the pages so you would see the stick guy moving, right? So if you do it quickly, it moves. So if they would give you the roll of movies, lights on, here's the roll, Bambi, and you'd go through it. You'd be like, that's interesting. But you wouldn't be moved to tears. Because it's not about the content. It's about the light. Right? That's the difference. The reason why you're moved to tears, or they were moved to tears back then, even though everybody knew Bambi wasn't real. Like everybody knew Bambi was made up. Like nobody walked in and was like, wow, I should really go out and find Bambi and bring her into my house. Like everybody knew that Bambi was a cartoon. But yet they were moved because the environment, the lights, the darkness, right? Movie theater is dark. The images are life-size. It created an illusion that the thing that I'm looking at is real. And when something feels real, you respond in kind. You see, feelings come from thoughts. Everything comes from thought. Nothing that you do did not originate in a thought. Like, even if it's a subconscious thought, it's still a thought. It's still something. Now, you have parts of you that are automatic. Fine. So let's leave out like the automatic stuff. But the feelings, the emotions, although emotions and feelings are different, but feelings and emotions, what moves you, what we're worried about. We're worried about feeling, or what we're excited about feeling. These are all manifestations of thought. It's thought that begins it. Thought is not us. Thought comes to us. We can't control it. I know we want to, we can't. So let's stop. We can get better. We can put ourselves in a situation where we purify it, no question. I was talking to someone recently who called with an issue that he was dealing with where he did something that was wrong. And I was trying to explain that you got to take a hard look to see if you got the guardrails up. Like you can't, go places and then feel bad for yourself if you fail, right? Like you got to be smarter than that. So you have to watch what you see, watch what you do, of course. That's part of bringing in better and more positive thoughts. I know somebody who turned their whole life around, really. They're having a very difficult life. A lot of it was self-imposed. And they turned it around. And I met him. I mean, I know him. So I saw him. I know him. And then I saw him, like, years later. And I knew he had gone through stuff. We weren't close enough. I didn't call him while we went through it. So I bumped into him somewhere. I'm trying to be, as you can tell, purposely vague until I have like signed consent forms to use these things. So I said, like, we were talking, and he said to me, he's like, I got rid of all the negative people in my life. Well, that's easier said than done, because sometimes you're related to them, but he's like, no, friends, family that I just, he didn't like divorce his family, but like the people that were negative, he just stopped. He just shut it down. He could do that, whatever his situation was. And the minute he did that, he's like, my whole life started to change. Like, I was surrounded by such incredible negativity that I couldn't handle it. And it was destroying me. So you can control the input of bad thoughts, but you can't control thought. You can't control, you're sitting somewhere and something pops in. You just can't control that. Don't even try. Don't even try. Don't even try to go somewhere and want to feel confident, and then you feel lack of confidence, and now you're mad at yourself for thinking this way. Don't even do that. Don't even try. Don't even try to say, why do I think this thing? How come I think this way? When you say, how come I think this way? Stop. Just stop. Close the book. Move on. That whole way of thinking is just a rabbit hole that leads you nowhere. Why me? How come someone so? How come they have it easy? All the stuff that has us be upset. Why these thoughts? I have the crazy. How come when I'm here, this thought pops in? How come when I'm about to do this thought pops in? Right? I ask myself all the time. I'm sitting, like I said the other day, I'm praying. How come when I'm praying, I'm thinking of like 11th grade? I don't think about 11th grade when I'm working. How come when I'm trying to be holier, do thoughts pop in that never would have popped in when I'm doing something? I don't know why. But guess what? Doesn't matter. Because I'm not my thought. I could contribute to terrible thoughts, for sure. I could be responsible for bad thoughts. If I ingest the wrong things, yeah, I'll probably have worse thoughts. No question. If I spend my time seeing, reading, listening, talking to things that are going to bring me negativity or whatever negative things are, yeah, most likely I will have filled my mind up with bad things. But when the thought comes to me, I didn't control that. Unless I deliberately went there. But when you're getting a thought brought to you, that's not you. Let me tell you what you are. You're the light. You're going to decide whether that thought stays as a little bit of film that you look at and go, that's interesting, or that thought's going to get put through a light, shined on a screen, with the lights closed, and you're going to allow that thought to like totally take over you. But understand that there is a chasm there. There's a linchpin there. And once we understand that we do not have to give thought light, we can allow the thought to pass through darkness, we can now make a huge dent in how we feel. Okay, we'll talk about this next week. All right, everybody. Give some thought to this. Do me a favor this week. When you get a thought come to you that you don't like, try to distance yourself and look at it and see it as interesting. Try to see it as a separate something that came into your mind. Picture your brain like a ticker. Thoughts pass by all Thoughts pass by all the time. And try to pull back and see if you can control a little bit the light. Say, freaking out over this? Nah, I'm not going to give it a lot of attention. I know I get the thought. I know what could happen. I understand all the negativity that's coming my way. we're going to opt against giving it any expression or any light. I'm just going to distract myself now. I have the thought. It doesn't matter. It's just a thought. It doesn't mean that it's me. It's not predicting the future. All right, let's think about this, and with God's help, we'll talk about it again. All right, have an amazing day. With God's help, I can't wait to see you again soon.